Fast, sleek, powerful, or a flying pig, depending on who you ask. The E-flite F-16 is Horizon's first venture into bigger and better airframes. Most notably, the F-16 was the first offering from Horizon to come with full-flying stabilators. But before I dive too deep into the F-16, I need and want to say something publicly. Hey, RC Sailors, this is John from Two Brothers speaking directly to you, Nate and Abby. I'm sorry. I crossed a major line with the Super Cub video that I uploaded where I directly made fun of Nate and his flying. I wanted to clear the air and directly apologize for being insufferable with the Super Cub vid. I'm pretty sure the beef between our channels was based on a misunderstanding, but even if it wasn't, I don't want to be known as the kind of person who picks fights with other channels. You have your place in the hobby and I have mine. There's plenty of irrational hate online, so let's avoid bringing that into radio control and focus on what brings us together, which is our shared love and passion for this incredibly rewarding hobby. So from me directly to you, Nate and Abby, I personally apologize for the unprofessional behavior that I put on display. As a show of good faith, I hid the video in question and I'll re-upload the Super Cub in the future again, but without the personal attacks. I'm hoping we can move past it, but if not, I understand and wish you well. That being said, let's dive into the F-16 for a 2-year review. Let's go ahead and deep dive into the value of this jet. It's obviously expensive at $599, and the main competitor is the Freewing 90mm F-16 at $579, a $20 difference. They're both nearly identical in size, but the Freewing jet uses a 90mm motor, and by all accounts that I've personally read and heard, the E-flite jet is a better looking, better flying, and more powerful jet. In terms of price, they're pretty similar until you realize that the Freewing F-16 is plug and play, while the E-flite F-16 is bind and fly. The Air Force Gray variant comes with a 6-channel receiver, while the Thunderbird variant ships with an 8-channel receiver. This means you can set up your Thunderbird F-16 following our setup guide with no additional cost, assuming you have a 10-channel transmitter. Since the wing area is basically identical between both aircraft, the heavier motor and bigger batteries that you can carry on the Freewing 90 are going to cause it to fly poorer in comparison to the 80mm F-16, which flies fantastic on 4000 class batteries. In terms of dollar for dollar value, the E-flite jets both come out ahead. This is one of the areas where it's a no-brainer. Horizon is obviously more expensive most of the time, but when it comes to F-16s, we feel like you're getting the better value here with them. After a couple of years of owning the F-16, I would personally recommend that you not land it with flaperons if you're flying on a heavy battery, unless you're willing to maintain a low angle of attack on approach so the flaps don't cause a stall at a slower airspeed. Hold the nose up too much with flaperons and you'll drop a wing every time. Usually this won't be a problem, but flaperons and high alpha should be kept to lightweight packs, or just come in high alpha anyhow and skip dropping the flaperons. It's much more controllable that way. Flaperons are incredible for quick takeoffs though, or if you're after having a scale setup, just remember that you can and should hold a shallower angle of attack while landing this jet with flaperons dropped. The best technique to land the F-16 is holding the nose up for a high alpha approach. Click the card at the top right of your screen and you can check out a tutorial shot in our hat cam days that covers the technique with stick inputs visible. It's not a hard jet to land, especially not with this tutorial to guide you. If you ever need help, drop us a message on Discord and our community will be happy to assist. Note that both I and Horizon both heavily recommend that you fly this jet off pavement, though some people have had success with grass. Just be prepared to have longer takeoff rolls and shorter flight times. It's not designed to fly from grass, but it can be done. Take off with flaperons so you can rotate faster and land as slow as you can to minimize damage to the gear. Dubro low bounce wheels will help grass rollouts by functioning as shock absorbers. Don't even bother flying on a windy day is my advice for the F-16 because it's a jet and like most jets, it doesn't really like turbulence. It's a relatively lightly loaded jet compared to the Freewing 90mm and it gets tossed around by wind easily. You can cut through the turb a little bit better with a heavier pack, but then you experience accelerated stalls easier while maneuvering and end up having anxiety attacks when you try to land it. Take my advice, don't try to fly the F-16 in wind unless you're really experienced. Even then, definitely reconsider it. If it's a laminar smooth wind, then have at it. If it's turbulent gusting wind, then don't even bother. Fly on a better day and save your expensive airframe from being damaged. Besides, the fun factor on the F-16 is off the chart with calm days. The jet absolutely loves calm winds. You can perform all sorts of crazy acro on calmer days. Upright high alpha is rock solid, provided you keep the nose from pulling up too much. Much like any other jet capable of high alpha, you steer with the rudder, keep throttle applied, and counter any wing drop with a slight amount of aileron. If the jet gets too slow, it might start to slide, and the only way out of that is throttling up and hoping you're high enough to recover. It's not so heavy that you can't recover from it, but it might scare a Tootsie Roll into your boxers. Just like its 70mm sister, the 80mm is a really fun high alpha platform. If you follow our setup guide and have the gyro correct roll on the stabilators too, you'll get a ton of low speed stability, just like the full-scale jet and the flight computer that controls it. Before someone inevitably complains about gyros, the full-scale jet can't fly without one. There's no good reason out there why you shouldn't run a gyro in this jet either. It even comes with one stock. Fly without a gyro if you want, but we prefer a scale setup that actually includes the flight computer. Inverted high alpha, if you're a bit more daring, is the most fun that I've had on any jet, even the F-22. You don't have to peg the elevator stick to do it either. You actually need a little bit more finesse on the controls, and the yaw axis is super sensitive. But once you get it settled in, the jet looks absolutely breathtaking. This is more of an advanced level maneuver, but if I can do it, you can do it too. Practice up high to get used to it. The key is being light on the elevator. Too much up elevator and it'll start the wing rock, so a light touch works best on the stick. Throttle up to full, let the nose drop gently, and then roll out to recover. For being a so-called flying pig, as we've heard it described on RC groups, it has a lot of agility and is one of the few jets that can do the Cobra maneuver, plus the Cobra spin that you might have seen in Top Gun Maverick. It's got enough thrust to weight to even recover at low level if you're daring enough. I do personally recommend using AGFRC servo upgrades for the stabilators, which you can see in the description, so you can ensure that they have enough torque and speed to pull the maneuver off. The stock servos don't have the throw, torque, or speed to pull this off. Recovering from a Cobra is as simple as throttling up, and entering it is a game of judging airspeed and getting the timing right. Our tutorial on F-16 acro, linked in the top right, will help guide you through it. While it's not terribly heavy for an 80mm jet, it does have some heft to it, and it does bite when it stalls, because it's not the 70mm. When you're banking and yanking, make sure that you're using some throttle to avoid accelerated stalls, otherwise you'll have experiences like these. Another downside to consider is that the nose wheel axle is a relatively weak point on the plane, which is why it was designed for pavement and not grass. So if you do fly it off grass, just be sure you're flying it off super short manicured grass for best results. You can't really get mad at the jet for being a pavement princess, but if you can't get pavement to fly from, just keep your grass airfield in good shape and it should be fine. Dubro low bounce wheels will take a lot of the stress off the axle if you're flying on grass. You'll want a 1.75-inch nose wheel and a 2.25-inch set for the main wheels. Another downside to consider is the relative lack of available spare parts, though AliExpress does carry FMS F-16 parts that you can order if you have any mishaps. Overall, the F-16 is one of my favorite jets, with tons of thrust, acro potential that makes me super happy, and a relatively affordable price tag for what it is. It's not a foam board flight test model, so it's not cheap, but it also isn't HSDJets territory, and this is the best F-16 you're going to get in this price range. If you think the Freewing F-16 is better, hop on Discord and tell us all about it. See you guys next time.